Hello guys, this is HYBE BOY. As you know, I'm a shareholder of HYBE while being a fan of HYBE music and HYBE artists. And there was a 20th shareholders meeting at HYBE, regular shareholders meeting, annual shareholders meeting that happened today, this morning, on March 31st. So I went there, attended the meeting, and came back, and this is the review of what happened and what was said. Now, I know there were some articles written about it, primarily focusing on BTS and their comeback plan and what CEO said about the ADOR incidents. Okay, so I will also talk about that. And yeah, so this is the English version. Okay, so just little details. You can attend shareholders meeting as long as you hold at least one share, right? And if you go there, give them your name, your ID, they check whether you're a shareholder or not, and then they give you this wristband, HYBE, and then it says the 20th shareholders meeting, and they give you this booklet that includes like earnings performances and agenda for the meeting, and a bottle of water and a pen. Okay. The meeting wasn't that long, wasn't that short, about an hour or so. So yeah, this was the agenda. They have appointed new directors in their board, so that was part of that stuff. And it has all the like earnings statements, little details. I'm not gonna go over these. I just included these for reference. By the way, right now, as of December 31st. HYBE has 823 employees, and as you know, HYBE was began to be regarded as a 대기업, large corporation in Korea. Also, yeah. So here we go. Let's go through some remarks. First of all, this is what Lee Jae-sang, the current CEO of HYBE, who looks like this, has said in the very beginning. All right. Dear HYBE shareholders, thank you sincerely for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend our 20th annual general meeting. 2024 was a year in which HYBE artists actively connected with global fans through performances held around the world. A total of 172 concerts were held, resulting in a modest increase in concert revenue compared to the previous year. HYBE's multi-label system is designed to reduce reliance on any single artist or label while enabling each label to operate independently. This structure allows for both competition and collaboration among labels, and in 2024, we saw tangible success from this approach. Now, a quick thing. When they said any single artist or label, they're probably referring to Big Hit and BTS. And I actually believe that multi-label is beneficial for BTS because it puts pressure off their shoulders. And the company can operate stably even when BTS is not doing their promotions and when they're taking a break or when they're not doing activities, but rather, I don't know, writing songs or as we have seen, serving in the military. Well, that's not going to happen again in the future. But I think for a company to achieve sustainable growth, this is pretty important for BTS as artists as well. And a lot of my viewers have expressed similar opinions as well. And also, this multi-labels system promoting healthy competition and collaboration, that theoretically works fine. And it has been working fine. But last year, and this is something that Lee Jae-sang, the CEO, has mentioned too, has said that last year, some people and some journalists have, made claims or arguments that go something like, is multi-labels really working? Look at the whole Minigen issues, ADOR issues. This is the reality of the multi-labels system. But I would say Minigen was not a systematic failure. She was a person who had evil intentions from the very beginning to literally destroy the company and Bang Seok and even BTS, we can say. So I don't think the whole Minijin, ADOR, Nugent's incident is the evidence that multi-label system cannot work. No, I think that's a huge outlier that we got to consider. And as a shareholder, I believe that multi-label system can work and will work effectively. Well, at least they got to work hard to ensure that it works. All right, so let's get back to it. As a result, HYBE recorded 2.2556 trillion Korean won in consolidated revenue, a 4% increase year over year, marking the highest revenue in the company's history. However, due to BTS temporary hiatus and the debut of several new groups, the revenue composition by artist shifted. At the same time, investment in new businesses led to a 38% year-over-year decline in consolidated operating profit, which totaled 184 billion Korean won. Now, even though the operating profit decreased by a quite large amount, but on the day of the earnings or the next day, the stock actually rose. Why? Because the markets or the analysts or the shareholders already expected that, right? While the antis are trying to make it seem like this company is doesn't have no money at the company. It's falling apart. But that's not the case here. Looking ahead to 2025, we aim to focus not only on top-line growth, but also on improving profitability. We plan to debut 3 new artist teams across Korea, Japan, and Latin America, reinforcing our strategy of regional diversification. You will also begin to see concrete implementation of our multi-home, multi-genre strategy, which has already garnered significant attention from the industry. At the end of last year, we unveiled new features on Weverse and prepared for the launch of new games, all aimed at enhancing the fan experience. These efforts will soon come to life and provide fans with fresh, engaging experiences. Most importantly, to share the fruits of this growth with you, our shareholders, we plan to issue a cash dividend for the second consecutive year, continuing our strong commitment to shareholder value. In closing, I ask for your continued interest and warm encouragement as HYBE moves forward. All of us at HYBE will give our very best throughout the year. Thank you. So, and then the agenda happened, but one of the most interesting parts of a shareholder meeting is Q&A. So I'm going to go through them. So this shareholder, in fact, she's a journalist who has been attending HYBE shareholders meetings, including the 2 that I attended last year, asked this: I truly respect the fact that HYBE continued to grow despite the difficult environment last year. While I have no objections to the current resolution, I do have one question. After reviewing the financial statements and footnotes, I could sense the impact of BTS absence. In particular, it seemed that Big Hit Music's performance was somewhat weaker as a result. Given this, BTS' contribution to performance and their level of activity will likely remain a key factor for this year as well. Could you share when BTS World Tour schedule for the second half of the year is expected to be announced? Now, I think as a journalist and as a shareholder, she must have been aware of the situation very well. I think she just simply wanted to ask, when is BTS gonna have a comeback, right? And also, notice how she's, her question is a phrase in a way that she's assuming that the world tour is gonna happen the later half of the year. But that's not what we were thinking, right? Including the analysts, reporters and shareholders and fans. We all knew, and I was talking about this on my channel with you guys, how BTS would need time to work on their album first for the second half of this year, and then probably do world tour next year, right? But yeah, it was just interesting how she phrased her question. Now, this was the response given by CEO. First of all, I believe you also joined us at last year's meeting, and I sincerely thank you for returning again this year. As you pointed out, BTS members have been serving in the military, so it was inevitable that Big Hit Music's performance would decline compared to the previous year. That said, Big Hit Music is currently preparing for new artist debuts in addition to BTS activities. And of course, we all know how well TXT is doing as well. All BTS members are expected to complete their military service by the end of the first half of this year. Understandably, we've been receiving many questions from the market. When is the next album coming out? When will the tour begin? While these are very common inquiries, they're not directly tied to any of the resolutions on today's agenda, so I must be careful in how I address them. That said, I can explain the general flow. Once the members return, first priority will be preparing new music and working on songs. While the company is making preparations, the artists themselves are the ones singing and creating the music. So naturally, this process takes time. After that, the album will be released and then a tour would follow. That's the typical sequence. Before their enlistment, BTS had already gone beyond K-pop and reached the level of global top-tier artist. Now, we're having ongoing discussions about what comes next for them post-military. Once those conversations and preparations are finalized, the timing of album releases and tour plans will be determined accordingly. However, I ask for your understanding that we cannot disclose any specific timeline today, as such information could have a significant short-term impact on our stock price. What we can say is that BTS will begin preparing step by step after their return, and we're confident that both fans and the market will be more than satisfied with what's to come. Yeah, so there you go. And I just wanted to say that, one of the reasons. So what the CEO said was that they need time. BTS members need time to work on their music because they're the artists who care about their work and who write their own songs, which is one of many reasons why we love this group, right? They put their thoughts and philosophy into their words and music that they sing and perform. Now, if it's just a group or artist who sings songs given by other entities, then, theoretically, you can finish your album like the first week you're back from the military, right? Boom, boom, bam. But, BTS music is like a well-prepared dish that requires time to cook so that we can, as fans, can cherish and relish for a long time, right? So, and also, as a fan, I would not complain at all if the members need time to just simply, take a rest. Because they've been serving the country for a year and a half. Of course, you have lots of time to, chill and work out and, rest within the military base. But still, as fans, we will not complain. But as we have seen, with Jin and J-Hope, they're right back into the game, right? So that's already more than satisfying for fans and shareholders. And it looks like other 5 members will do the same. So that's pretty exciting. All right. And also, as articles have pointed out, CEO said that they have already been working with, as a company, top tier producers, global producers, for the upcoming album. So that's pretty exciting. But at the same time, I believe that as BTS members, they will continue to work with, their old-time partners, including Hitman Bang and P-Dog and Hitman Bang, P-Dog, and Slow Rabbit. I keep forgetting his name. Anyways, so I'm super looking forward to the upcoming album. All right, next question. This was about shareholder value. I'd like to ask a follow-up question regarding agenda item 2, specifically about the dividend. I recognize and appreciate HYBE's continued efforts to enhance shareholder value. Last year, the companies issued a dividend of 700 Korean won per share and also pursued share buybacks and cancellations, which I viewed positively as part of its shareholder return policy. However, I understand that this year's dividend has been reduced to 200 Korean won per share, a decrease of over 500 Korean won compared to last year. This level is now similar to that of some companies in the same industry that even recorded operating losses, which raises some concerns. Although it was stated that dividends are being paid within the 30% payout ratio, I noticed from the retained earnings statement that both net income and retained earnings for this year appear to have increased compared to the previous year. Given that HYBE achieved its highest ever revenue, I would appreciate clarification on why the dividend has been reduced, whether it's solely due to a drop in operating profit or if there were other contributing factors. Understanding this would be very helpful from a shareholder's perspective. And the CEO said, "Thank you for your thoughtful question. Let me explain. HYBE issued its first cash dividend during annual general meeting. It says 2023, but isn't 2024? I think that could be a mistake with the translation. As you mentioned, we also repurchased shares in August as part of our broader efforts to support the stock price and enhance shareholder value. Despite a decline in earnings this year, we have still decided to distribute 200 Korean won per share dividend, including a special dividend as part of our shareholder return policy. To be specific, the regular dividend is 61 per share, approximately 27% of the net income attributable to controlling interest, and the special dividend adds an additional 141, bringing the total payout to around 8.3 billion Korean won. That said, this amount is indeed a significant decrease compared to last year's total dividend payout of approximately 29.2 billion Korean won, about a 30% drop. As CEO, I take full responsibility for not meeting shareholder expectations on this matter. The decrease in dividend amount this year stems not only from reduced operating profit, but also from increased investments in new business areas and other strategic initiatives. As for questions like, when did the company anticipate this reduction? Or was the decision made just for the annual general meeting? We believe that ensuring predictability in both dividends and share buybacks is of the utmost importance. To improve transparency, we're currently reviewing multiple ways to better communicate such decisions to the market. We'll continue discussions internally and with our board of directors and share relevant updates through official announcements when needed. As a reference, starting this year, we have also changed how the dividend record date is set. In the past, the record date was determined before the dividend amount was finalized. Going forward, the record date will be determined after the dividend resolution, establishing a more transparent and fair structure. All of these changes reflect our commitment to delivering a predictable and shareholder-friendly dividend policy. We will continue working towards stronger business performance and building the financial capacity to provide higher levels of shareholder return in the future. So that was the response. I personally regard HYBE as a growth company, growth stock. And many growth stocks do not give dividends at all, like Tesla. And in fact, Google or Alphabet, to be more exact, and Meta have only recently started to give out dividends. But as a shareholder, I appreciate the fact that they are returning, some of the profits as dividends. But of course, as a growth company, they can always reinvest the profits back into their businesses. So I have no concerns there. But although every shareholder or every investor has a different mindset. All right, next question. Following the earlier discussion on treasury shares, I'd like to ask a related question. To my understanding, HYBE repurchased approximately 150,000 treasury shares in August last year, with around 20,000 of those allocated to employees. As an individual shareholder, I believe stock price stability is very important. When a company repurchases its own shares, it's reasonable to expect that some portion will be retired or canceled to help stabilize the share price. However, I noticed that no such cancellation occurred after last year's buyback. Given that, HYBE's share price has remained quite volatile, which makes it difficult for retail shareholders like myself to feel confident about long-term investment. I attended last year's annual general shareholders meeting as well, and I'm here again this year out of continued interest. Also, today, coincidentally, marks the resumption of short selling in Korea. And yes, that happened, and it has been shaking the whole Korean market. I'd like to know whether HYBE has any internal measures in place to respond to this development. And here is the CEO response. Thank you for your question. Although this topic isn't directly related to the official agenda, it is indeed an important issue, and I appreciate the opportunity to address it. When a company repurchases its shares, it may either retire them or retain them for future strategic use, such as securing key talents or investing in growth. At HYBE, our intent wasn't solely to cancel the shares, but rather to hold them as a strategic asset for talent acquisition and future investments. That said, there were internal discussions about the possibility of canceling a portion of the treasury shares to send a positive signal to the market. While we haven't executed that yet, I want to make it clear that we haven't ruled out that option. We understand that shareholders approach HYBE with different investment timelines and strategies. Some may be looking 5 or 10 years ahead, while others may respond to short-term events. And I think by that, he's referring to BTS comeback. In my view, the two most important drivers of stock performance are financial performance and long-term vision. It's not about one-time events or yearly fluctuations. It's about whether the company can consistently deliver strong results and whether it has a clear direction. HYBE is deeply committed to both of these areas. One key reason is our belief that the entertainment industry remains significantly undervalued. And this was pretty interesting for me. For example, 2 cups of Starbucks coffee may cost 12,000 Korean won, yet a full month of music streaming costs just 9,000 to 12,000 Korean won. This highlights how underpriced content still is. And after hearing that, I was like, that kind of makes sense, because for me, music is one of the most important areas in my life that gives me huge joy, right? And like, I don't know, 10,000 Korean won or $10 or so per month. And it gives me like huge joy, dopamine, and happiness. Fair deal. And one could say that is very undervalued and underpriced, right? So, and he said, we believe this industry has significant long-term growth potential. Our leadership team and founding members are committed to increasing the fundamental value of the entertainment sector, not just short-term profits. To realize that vision, we're continuing to pursue innovation, and we're thinking seriously about the next 30 years based on the capabilities and achievements we have built over the past 20. This year marks HYBE's 20th anniversary. Once again, that's counting the Big Hit years, okay? Because HYBE, Big Hit is the former entity of HYBE. And we're not just thinking about the next decade. We're thinking about how to become a 50-year company. At the heart of that vision is our commitment to elevating the value of the industry itself. As for the treasury shares you mentioned, while we haven't retired them, we have utilized them in part as a strategic tool for talent retention and recruitment. Ultimately, what matters most is our ability to consistently deliver results and stay true to our direction. And I believe HYBE is better positioned than most in that regard. Nice, confidence. Your question was a meaningful reminder for us to reflect deeply on our approach, and we will continue to move forward with greater responsibility and care. Nice. Yeah, I actually quite appreciate the way the CEO speaks. I don't know about you guys, but as a shareholder, he has my trust, at least as of today. Cool. And then next question. This was, again, a question raised by Lee Ji-hye, the journalist, who asked the first question about BTS comeback. Hey, I understand that HYBE currently has a total of 5 outside directors. So this was related to one of the last agenda items. 1 is being reappointed and 3 are new appointments. I believe this year's annual general meeting comes at a very important time for the company. Looking at the board's composition, it includes experts in law, economics, public policy, and ESG, which I believe will contribute meaningfully to strengthening governance. My first question is, what specific measures is HYBE taking to reinforce board governance? Secondly, I'd like to address the issue surrounding the ADOR incident that occurred last year. From my perspective, this was not only a management matter, but also a reflection of HYBE's governance structure. What is HYBE's plan to strengthen governance to prevent similar incidents from happening again in the future? And then, CEO said, Thank you for your thoughtful questions. To start with the first point, our new outside directors were recommended through our outside director nomination committee, which is composed entirely of outside directors. The nominees are all seasoned experts in economic and business fields, and we believe they will be able to fully exercise the monitoring and oversight functions expected of the board. Their appointments were submitted for resolution at this general meeting. Additionally, we have appointed a new female outside director to further enhance gender diversity and balance within the board. Since HYBE was designated as a large business group last year, we've also been working to strengthen our internal governance structure in step with our business growth. As a company grows, it naturally faces more complex management issues and agendas. The individuals we have brought onto the board have extensive experience navigating such challenges at various organizations, and we're honored to have them join us at this stage. Regarding the ADOR incident, 2024 was indeed a challenging year, and sorry about this mistake, it should be 2024. 2024 was indeed a difficult year from a governance standpoint. There were numerous rumors and external challenges. As a person and as a leader, I'll admit that it was a very tough time. And in Korean, it was something like 저희도 사람이기 때문에 힘든 한 해였습니다. So literally translated, because we're also humans, it was a very tough time. And I was like, oh, I so get that, you know? Because like as shareholders, you can cut ties with the company with a single click, selling all the shares, and then you're done. But if you are like employees or executives or staff working there, HYBE has impact on your life. Your life is connected to your company. But imagine, like you see all these articles and like, you know, people attacking the company that you work at, saying that it's the most evil in this industry. But while you know the reality, because you literally work there. So imagine how painful that experience would be. And your like family members and your friends would ask you, oh, yo, I read about your company through these articles. What's up with your company? Something like that. So yeah, I cannot imagine how tough it would have been like for HYBE staff and employees. And of course, I did not even mention HYBE artists and fans. But when he said that, when the CEO said that, because we are also humans, it was a very tough year. I just wanted to express my empathy and sympathy and appreciation for the people at HYBE. So, yeah, where are we? You may recall that at last year's general meeting, I said even if actually that was during the second half of the year, and we have seen articles about it, like 차분하게 원칙대로, and I actually had a reference to that during a rap cover of Another Level by Jin. Hold firm, stay true to the principles. So keep calm and stay true to the principles. That's what he has said when the exact same reporter asked him about what's going to happen to the ADOR situation or Nugent situation last year. That's what he's referring to right now. Even if it takes time, we'll address each issue step by step based on principles. I believe we are now beginning to see the results of that approach. At the time, there were efforts, intentional or not, to undermine our multi-label strategy. I briefly talked about this a few minutes ago, right? However, I still have unwavering faith in that model. HYBE has grown into one of the highest market cap music companies globally by building a multi-label structure, supporting each label through a solution system, and integrating those with our platform business. Throughout this journey, we have experimented with different operating models. Initially, we separated creative and business functions, and later we explored what would happen if we integrated them. Some results were positive, while others presented challenges, but I view these as part of an ongoing turning process. Currently, we are expanding the multi-label system in Japan. Our Japanese solutions division generated 60 to 70 billion in revenue in, I think this should be also 2024, ranking third by size and second by operating scale among music solution providers in Japan, trailing only Sony Music Solutions and AVEX. We have entered the Japanese market through Solutions First, and several HYBE artists are already active there. We recently launched a new edition brand, and a second Japanese artist group is expected to debut soon. So that will be the Little Brothers group for N-Team. This multi-label expansion is not limited to Japan. We are also extending the system into Latin America. While it's still early to share details, news reports have confirmed that we have signed deals with top-tier artists in major Latin countries. We currently operate 2 labels in the region. In the US, we continue to grow through our labels such as Big Machine Label Group and Quality Control, QC. For example, Lil Baby, an artist under QC, released an album in January this year in which 12 out of 15 tracks charted on Billboard, a clear result of our multi-label strategy. This shows that our multi-label structure, as designed by HYBE, is maturing through continuous internal tuning. We're now focusing on scaling this strategy globally through a multi-label, multi-genre system. To support this global expansion, we also need alignment in corporate, accounting, and tax operations. This is precisely why we appointed a new group of highly experienced outside directors, individuals who can oversee and guide us through this new phase. Of course, our previous outside directors were excellent, but we believe new perspectives are needed to meet the demands of our evolving business environment. That said, governance is not a fixed destination. That said, governance is not a fixed destination. It is a continuous process of evolution and improvement. I agree. No matter how solid a structure you design or how comprehensive your reports are, markets evolve, shareholder expectations shift, and macro environments change. That's why we remain humble and vigilant, constantly asking ourselves what changes are happening and what areas we must improve. Our goal is to address those challenges one by one with care and diligence. So there you go. That was the gist of the shareholders meeting, at least the most interesting parts. And in general, I really appreciate the way the CEO handles the questions and how he responds. I know that he's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And that's something we should acknowledge for any human being. But yeah, I will continue to believe in the company and will continue to support them. So yeah. Also, after the meeting was over, he stepped down from the podium and he had a very brief conversation with the shareholders. And one of the shareholders, I think this was also the journalist, asked him about the underwhelming performance of Weverse, right? And this is what he said. And I'm sharing this, even though this wasn't official, right? Because he said this off the podium, but it was kind of touching in some way. We don't view this simply as a matter of monetization. What's important to us is creating content that fans are genuinely happy to pay for and enjoy in the short term. When commercial elements are pushed too heavily, it can alienate younger fans, especially those who may not have the financial means. For example, fans living in more rural areas might find it difficult to keep up with everything. So we're very mindful not to push monetization without considering the burdens on fans, and that's not the direction we want to go in. If we ever see signs that increased monetization is leading to a fan attrition, we will reevaluate. We'll take a close look at all the numbers and adjust accordingly. The key point is this: charging more for the same content is not the right approach. That treats fans merely as consumers. But when we offer new and meaningful content, features and experiences that fans truly want, then monetization becomes part of being a good partner to our fandom. That's the direction we aim to pursue, providing value through features that fans want, including character-based content in a way that also supports healthy monetization. Take Weverse, for example. I think here the journalist asked about the MAU performance a bit. and how they saw a slight decline after MAU peaked at 2 million or something. So he said something like artist activity cycles and the onboarding of new artists and the departure of some artists all played a role for that. Some people believe that we may be nearing the saturation point in terms of K-pop artists joining the platform. In Japan, we have begun exploring collaborations with anime and manga IPs, but the barriers to entry are high, so we are proceeding cautiously. Also, simply onboarding an artist isn't enough. Artists themselves need to feel excited and engaged on Weverse, and when they do, their fans will naturally follow. True that. In fact, the J-pop fandom is quite different from K-pop fans in terms of atmosphere and expectations, especially around what kind of content artists post and how they interact. That's why we're working closely with local partners to ask what kind of content makes sense here and what will naturally draw fans in. These are the kinds of conversations and strategies we're actively pursuing. And the reason why I was nodding to this response was that last year, when all the investors and analysts were raving about the monetization of Weverse, I had a concern because fans, like artist fans, are different kinds of consumers, right? There's a difference between like Netflix raising the price of their content and HYBE, like Weverse, for example, raising their price. The reaction of the consumers would be different, I believe. So I was concerned about like HYBE monetizing Weverse for the sake of monetizing and raising profits and pleasing shareholders. But no, I think they are sharing my concern, or it's not just my concern, but fans' concerns as well. And at least based on what he just said, they truly care about how fans would perceive the monetization and the new services, right? So the point is this: what is important is the content, right? The value of content. As long as the content will be worth it, fans would naturally spend money on it. In other words, it's important to create content and services that fans would believe that they would gladly spend money to use those services. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad that they're thinking about that, considering that, and deeply reflecting upon that, right? So once again, I appreciated his response, because fans are consumers, and at the same time, fans are fans, right? Artist fans are different types of consumers compared to other products or other services. So there we go. Any questions? So overall, there was nothing crazy about this shareholder meeting. BTS comeback, it was exactly as we thought, like album later this year and then world tour next year. And also they have confirmed the debuts of 3 new groups this year. 1 Korean, 1 Japan, and 1 Latin America. I think up until this point, it was only confirmed by reports, like articles, but they have mentioned it specifically during the shareholders meeting. And then they said that they will continue to stick to the principles when it comes to ADOR. So there you go. Let me know what you thought about this. Okay? Hopefully this was interesting or informative for you, even though I know like most of you guys, English-speaking audience, do not invest in HYBE. And once again, disclaimer, even knowing the fact that most of you do not invest in HYBE, I'm a shareholder of HYBE, and this is not an investment advice at all. And I say this to my Korean audience as well. Even though I invest in this company, I do not recommend investing in it at all, because investment is your own decision and there may be better opportunities out there. But at least when it comes to myself, I trust and I will continue to support HYBE. All right, with that, peace and love. Stay positive, respectful, and classy. Thank you. Peace and love. Bye-bye.